All right, hello everybody again. Time for another longer kind of Q&A video. I think all the questions sent in, or that we have today, were sent in, a few from my husband too. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Amber, the West Coast medium. This is my friend Heather.
Hi guys.
She'll be doing the interviewing. I'll go over my gifts really quickly in case this is the first time you're watching us. So I'm a medium, which means I can connect with people who have crossed over. I'm an empath, but times a million, so spirit can make me see, feel, hear, and sense things that other people can't. I can also feel everything from the person sitting with me and everyone that they know in life, pretty much everybody's feelings. I'm also what I call spiritually intuitive. Others would say is psychic, because there's no sense of time or space on the other side. Spirit can provide guidance or show me memories of the past if it's going to mean something to somebody. I'm also a medical intuitive, although I don't necessarily kind of advertise that or do it too much, and I'm also a healer. But right now that I only reserve kind of for family and friends, just for one, I don't have the time to do it for other people, and it also takes a lot more energy than just doing a regular reading would. So we're going to go through this video. If you have any questions, you can comment below. And please like, share, subscribe, do all of those things to kind of keep these videos going so we can keep making them. All right, here's Heather.
All right. Excuse me. Is there a finite number of souls on the other side?
Finite.
Finite?
We don't know how to edit either. So I think the person asking that meant, like, is there a certain number of souls, and that's all the souls there are, and those are the only souls that kind of continue to come into this life? There is kind of. So you'd think, I said this in another video, you'd think because there's billions of people on Earth that there would be billions of souls. There's not. There's not even millions. There's maybe million or around there. But souls are constantly moving and shifting and changing. So regardless of what your belief is, our souls come from that highest energy. And as far as I know, eventually go back to that highest energy. So organized religion has it kind of right in that way, that there is like a highest energy, or God, if you will, and that was the creator of everything. But it's interpreted a little bit different. The perspective's a little bit different on the other side. It's more that we come from that and we go back to that. But there are definitely, each soul that exists can be living in a multitude of places at once. So there aren't billions, but they're funny. They're like, it's a finite number, but that number can shift and change and flow, kind of like the ocean. I don't know if that makes sense. Did that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay.
And I'm learning how to speak today.
Sorry to bug you right in the first question.
Pronunciation. All right. Do we only incarnate on Earth? And are there other worlds out there that our souls travel to?
So there's definitely other dimensions, other worlds that our souls can travel to. As far as I know so far, and again, I'm always learning and growing too, so sometimes answers change or grow or shift as I do and as I learn more. But I must be learning something in the future for them to have me explain that. They distracted me. So yes, we can kind of go to future dimensions to live lives, to past dimensions to live lives, but also to like other galaxies. It kind of goes along with the question, do aliens exist? Not in the way that we think they do, because they're all the same souls. They're just learning in different places and different lessons. The other side is kind of the highest energetic dimension to exist. But yes, there are many other places and times. Not really times. How do you want me to explain that then? Because that's a human way. There's just other... It's like how we're in Canada, you know, some people are in the States. They're just different places, but they exist all at the same time, if that makes sense. They're getting nitpicky, not just about language.
In the last one too.
Yeah,
in the last one too, with the time questions. Are new souls ever created, made, or born?
Yes. So, again, the way I see it is like we live lives and we learn and grow until we're kind of, you know, spirit guides or something like that on the other side, and you kind of reach your highest energy. That's a weird way to say it, and that sounds creepy. They say it's almost like you get like reabsorbed, but then can come back. So it's like you've learned everything you're going to learn, so you get to kind of enjoy, it's like graduating school. You enjoy that stage for a while, but that then new, younger souls can come to learn. So it's just a constantly moving, ebbing and flowing existence on the other side. It's not a quick process, though, if that makes sense, when time doesn't exist. It's eternal, and I don't think we can understand that. It's infinite. It goes on continuously forever. So I think that's not really for human minds to understand or grasp. Maybe that's why like quantum physics exists, so they can learn and study that stuff. But a lot of the time it's not for us to know necessarily in this life. But I totally forget what the beginning of the question was, and I have no idea if I answered it.
Created?
I kind of answered it. Let's move on.
Yeah. Are tarot, divination cards, tea leaves, pendulums a way to talk to your spirit guides?
So, for me, to me, those are kind of tools, right? For me, I am the tool. That's a nice way of saying it. I am the tarot card kind of thing. Spirit talks and I listen. For people that don't have the abilities that I have or haven't developed the abilities that I have, that might be a good way to get your spirit guides to get you to listen to them, because then you're paying attention to what they have to say. You're asking specific questions, or you're going into it with an idea of what you want to know. So rather than, like, say somebody's doing tarot cards and they flip, I don't really know how they work, but I'm assuming like you flip or you choose some cards, and then that is like what is going to mean something to you. Your guides definitely have the power to make a card flip that is going to be what they want to tell you. So definitely they do have that power. And then the person who's, say, doing that is then trained or has the energy to explain to you what that means. Same with pendulums. They're just used to say yes or no. It's not always going to be. Sometimes you're going to put a human influence on it, but yeah, definitely your guides can kind of manipulate that to mean something to you. But I think with things like that, you do have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt, because it's very open to interpretation and can mean a lot of different things.
Okay. Do Himalayan pink salt lamps, candles, and selenite really work?
Yes, I think for me, selenite is like my gold. It changes the energy in my house. I just love it. It really, I have it all kind of around me. You guys can't see, but there's a bunch in the house. Heather's wearing it. So that's kind of what it looks like. And it does. It can really work to cleanse energy. I think Himalayan pink salt lamps and candles and stuff, they do work, but I feel like, at least in my life, selenite's kind of a step up from that. Cleanses a little bit better and a little bit more. Candles, I don't know. Heather just pointed out to me that I need better candles.
Natural candles.
Yeah, because they're really starting to affect my throat because they're burning so often right now. But definitely anything that you put an intention into to cleanse the energy in your house is going to work. It's not going to do all the work. So if you just like say go and get a Himalayan pink salt candle and you stick it in the corner and you go, now my house is going to be perfect. No, you actually have to set intentions. You have to work with it. It's not just, it's almost like it's, I don't like that explanation. They say it's like almost like a living thing that needs to be tended to and kind of nourished and cared for in order to work to its best potential. I think that's a little strange, but
I like it.
I'll go with it.
I like it.
I don't know, because, to me, I look at it, I'm just still getting used to these kinds of things, and to me, I look at selenite, yes, it's very pretty, and I know it's affecting the energy in my house, but it doesn't look like it's a living thing, but they say it's kind of like a living thing and needs that nourishment as well, so. See, sometimes I don't even agree really with their answers, but I say them because I know that they're right, and I'm just interpreting it with my kind of human lens.
All right, so the next question is, what are orbs? And I'm assuming that this person might have meant maybe in a picture or in a video, something like that.
So sometimes orbs are just light reflecting, that something weird happens in the camera or exposure or something like that. But sometimes it is kind of the capture of higher energy or spirit around, or somebody's aura, something like that. So it can be different things. If you're constantly seeing them and it's with different cameras, not the same camera, more than likely it's going to be kind of spirit or your guides or somebody trying to let you know they're there, or a loved one. But sometimes, it is just different light reflecting. So it's kind of how you interpret it and what you feel it is. If you're really feeling like, maybe it's a family picture and it's your mom's passed away and it's a family picture of everybody who's still here in this physical world, and there's an orb beside one of you, I'm going to say probably is pretty likely that that's your mom coming through and just letting you know she's there. But at times, it's just light reflecting. So it's a bit of both.
Do you know if there's anything special about constantly seeing the number 11, especially when looking at the time?
So the times like 11:11, 3:33, 4:44, when you're constantly seeing those, it's just Spirit's way of letting you know that they're there and everything's going to be okay. When I first accepted my gifts and started this, I was like crazy overwhelmed all of the time, really panicky. I think I drove my friends and family like a little bit nuts because like I needed a lot of reassurance all the time. Those were the only times I saw. Literally every time I looked at the clock, it was one of those times because Spirit was just trying to say like, it's going to be okay. You're on the right path. Everything's going to be fine. So yeah, it's just kind of Spirit letting you know, hey, we're here, we're supporting you. Or if it's like right in a moment when something stressful happens, it's them going like, it's going to be okay and it's fine, trying to kind of get in touch with you in a way that they can, because that's easy to manipulate. That's easy to tell you to look at a clock at a certain time.
Okay. Is it intuition when a person calls right when you're thinking of them? Or you know the person who is calling before you see or hear who it is?
Yeah, so that's just kind of a basic level of intuition. A lot of people have it. A lot of people deny it and don't think it's intuition. They think it's coincidence. In my world, coincidence doesn't exist. I think some of the time you are thinking of somebody, maybe they're having a hard time and you're really feeling it. You've got a really close bond. I think as humans, we're just kind of born to deny our natural way of being on the other side because really we're here to learn different lessons than what we learn there. So it's easy to go, oh, you know, I knew that person was calling, but it's just because they always call at this time of day, or they haven't called in a week and I knew they were going to call, but usually it is intuition. I pretty much know when I pick up the phone before I pick it up exactly who's calling every single time because I'm obviously a different level of kind of that base intuition, but yes, usually it is intuition telling you something about that person.
Cool. Can people who have passed to spirit life get lost or confused and hang around haunting places or get trapped in this physical plane?
As far as I know, we all go to the other side. There are lower levels to the other side that are much closer to here energy-wise. And so because it's a more confusing place and it's harder to be and harder to exist there, you could really try and cling to the people here. So that does exist. They're still on the other side, but they're definitely at a lower level and more connected. But also, so all these places that you see on TV that they say are haunted and whatever, and people are going into them and they're getting signs that Spirit's around, so obviously it's haunted. Spirit is always there when you think of them. So say there's a house where maybe the father killed the whole family and then he committed suicide. And every time somebody goes into that house, they're feeling Spirit around and all these weird things are happening. It's because you're going into that house and you're thinking of them. And there's so much energy concentrated on them in that house that they're just going to constantly come and visit because they're like, hey, somebody's thinking about me. Maybe it's a chance for my soul to grow or me to learn something. And so they're going to come there. I think people think the other side exists way up in the clouds, galaxies far away. It doesn't really. They're right here all the time with us. So there's kind of two different answers to that. There are lower level energy souls that are more connected here because they're really trying to make amends with the people they've harmed or hurt here. But then also places that TV shows and stuff are made out of, usually they're just coming from the other side, especially like things that happened hundreds of years ago. Mm-hmm. They're not stuck in that house for hundreds of years. That's just... I'm not using your word, bull hooey. It's just not true. So yeah, there's kind of two sides to that. If you want me to elaborate more on stuff like that, because I know it's a real human interest, just comment below if you've got more specific questions. Although I think we have more specific questions, don't we? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a PG show here, folks.
Yeah, I know.
Bull hooey. Is there such thing as evil spirits that stay here to terrorize people, like the ones horror movies are based on? So this is definitely related to the last question. Or is it all just made up from our human fears?
I don't think there are. Just like I do not believe there's a hell, I do not believe there is a soul out there that is innately evil. There are lower level energy souls. I won't go too far into that just because I know we have some questions later on about this kind of stuff, but they want me to point out right now that even though I know the questions beforehand, I don't think about the answers at all because I like Spirit to answer the questions as I'm doing it. So just a little tidbit aside thing. But no, I don't believe. And that's really hard for people to understand because people need that reward and that punishment and that kind of thing. To me, it just doesn't exist. And if it does, I haven't seen it yet. I do know lower level energy souls can be confused. And the way we feel when they're around can be a little bit scary because of how we're interpreting that energy. It doesn't feel great. A lot of the times I choose not to talk to them except to let them come forward to apologize. But innately evil, no.
All right. Are humans in a cycle of self-destruction? Like, that we get so far and then have to start over as a civilization?
No. That's a hard one to answer because we're really basing it on a human way of thinking and a human existence where time is linear and moving forward at a certain pace. I think we're evolving and we're learning. I don't think self-destruction. I think it really is all just a learning process. And even if we got to a point where humanity could no longer exist here, that's just here. There's infinite other places. There's eternity that exists beyond this. But we really have this, it's like putting on our human glasses and going, we're ruining the world, all of this stuff we're doing. But think of the growth, too, that we've made it as a civilization. How much acceptance is starting to come into play for different lifestyles and beliefs and ways of being. We wouldn't have that if we didn't have everything else. So they don't see it as self-destruction. They see it more as like a learning, moving forward thing.
All right. Can you explain more about lower energy, bad or evil people? More specifically, the person who's asking this question is having a hard time with the thought that someone is here doing evil things and yet still making it over to the spirit world. Why would someone plan in the spirit world to be tortured and murdered, especially children, by these people, and why suffer like that? So this is kind of two parts, really, I guess.
So, again, this is really going to be... I just want them to make it a little more... Sorry, I get distracted. So, it's talking about two different things. So, these people are referencing lower energy people we would see as evil here on Earth. Not necessarily a lower level energy soul on the other side. Those are two very different things. Because a lot of the time, lower level energy people here, or people we would see as bad or evil, are actually quite high level energy on the other side. And that is really hard to understand for a lot of humans because these people cause so much suffering, but they're also teaching so much. What you learn from them, you couldn't learn from somebody that's just full of love all the time. It's really hard to understand that on the other side, evil doesn't exist. It just doesn't. And that we agree before we come into this life what we're going to go through and who we are going to go through it with and for, so that we can learn and we can grow as we need to on the other side. You know, going to school, there were certain areas I was really good at and certain areas that were very hard for me. I wouldn't have gotten rid of the very difficult ones because those ones I remembered, those lessons I remembered. And that's the way souls think of it. I feel like with these questions I have to be a bit more delicate because there are people out there that have been very, very hurt and in their eyes damaged or forever changed by the actions of somebody else, whether it was somebody who murdered a loved one of yours or somebody who molested a loved one of yours or a tragic way that a child died or suffered. But on the other side, they don't see it as that. They don't see it as suffering. They see it as learning. And I don't know 100%. Yes, I understand this because it just makes sense to me. I don't know 100% that everybody in the world is supposed to understand this, because if you fully understand this, you might not learn as much from these situations. But I think as a whole, you know, really. So this is one part that spirits on the other side, my guides in particular, have a problem with, is the belief that everybody will face a judgment day, because it's a real human construct, right? If you commit a crime, you do something bad, you face a judgment and you are punished. And that's why I think so many people really relate to the Bible, because it's like the bad people will be punished, the good people will be rewarded. It doesn't work like that on the other side. It just doesn't. I think for peace of mind, a lot of people want it to work like this, but it doesn't. I think I could talk probably all day on this. So I think that maybe if you have more specific questions, I can talk about that in another video. I think a couple more are going to come up, but innately evil people, it's not seen as that on the other side.
If there is a God, why would he let bad things happen to little kids and let mass tragedies occur?
So he's more like, not he, that highest energy is more like a parent. They have some influence, but they're more there just to pick us up and hold on to us when we're struggling and walk with us and at times carry us. That's more the purpose of that highest energy on the other side, rather than to save us from suffering. Because if it were up to him or that highest energy, everybody could just be on the other side and just be happy and loving all the time, but you wouldn't be learning. So you're coming here to learn these hard lessons. The easy stuff happens on the other side, the hard stuff doesn't. So he's not letting us suffer. We are choosing that. And then when we get back there, that energy is helping us work through it. But we choose it. He doesn't force it on us. If we didn't want any of that, if we wanted to live an easy life with no hardships, that is exactly what we would be able to do. Nobody's forcing us to do it. So it's actually our choice, and I think that's hard for people to understand. I'm not putting blame on people for choosing those lessons, but it was your choice to learn that way.
Can spirits help a person not feel ashamed of something that happened to them that affects their everyday life so that they can enjoy their lives?
They can. Your guides can definitely help you with that, help you with forgiveness, with moving on, and with acceptance, and letting go of blame. Blame and guilt can be very hard emotions to process and deal with. In saying that, they say, yes, they can help, but sometimes you've chosen that you actually don't want them to help. You want to learn from it, and you want to move forward from that specific thing and figure it out on your own. So they will always be there for you when you ask them to. They will always help you how they can, but they also are over there with your higher self, and your higher self is saying to them, okay, yes, it's okay to take away some of this for them right now, but maybe tomorrow or next week they actually need to process some of that. So in a way, you just have to kind of trust that your higher self knows what's best. But definitely, if things are getting too heavy for you, if you're really struggling, you can just ask them to help you carry that weight for a while, and they definitely will. I think more directing your requests and asking for acceptance and forgiveness of yourself, because even though a lot of the time we say the anger is directed at other people, actually we've internalized a lot of it. So asking for that for yourself, I think, will move people forward the most.
Okay, someone here is asking about folks with schizophrenia and shamans. And sorry, I'm kind of botching this question. I'm just going to read this from the perspective of the person who wrote it. That'll be way easier. I've read that people with schizophrenia are shamans, and our Western society no longer sees the signs. Is this true?
So again, there's two answers. We got a lot of two-part questions, two different answers.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is just mental illness. The people have a chemical or physical imbalance, something going on in their body, and it is truly a mental illness. Once in a while, schizophrenia will develop because I explained in another video, to me, when you plan a life, they show it to me like a buffet, where you're going along and you're loading everything on your plate. There's a guide walking with you. You get to the end, there's another guide at the end that says, ooh, you have too much of this on your plate or not enough of that. You switch it around, you go, okay, this is my buffet plate for this life, I'm ready to go. Sometimes it is that this person has piled on much too much onto their plate. So they are expecting a higher energy than what their physical body in that life is capable of. And so it's like their physical body and their spiritual self are kind of fighting each other, and it can develop into a schizophrenia type illness. So there's definitely two sides. No, they are not always a higher energy shaman type soul. Sometimes it is just a mental illness and something that's going on that they chose to learn from. Once in a while it is that there's kind of a fight between their higher self, their soul, and what they're capable of, and they're learning from that, so that the next time they go along the buffet, maybe they take a little less of something.
All right, your favorite kinds of questions now. Questions
Oh,
about...
that's my favorite. I just love talking about myself.
Questions about you. All right, so people are really interested in Amber personally, so we've got some more questions about her and kind of how her gifts are. Are you a medium in your other incarnations?
In some of them, yes. So even to me, this stuff kind of sounds strange still, but I know that around the 1600s, I was burned at the stake for being a witch, so I wouldn't have been called a medium. but a witch. In another life, I'm like a what do you call those? Can I get the word? Like a medicine woman? Is that a thing? You know, like that everybody in the town would go to for like concoctions of stuff, but really the healing properties in it were to do with spiritual stuff rather than what I was feeding them. I could have given them water and it was energy healing kind of stuff. I'm also a spirit guide as well. My higher self is a guide that helps people like me. But as far as the lives I'm aware of right now, I'm some form of who I am. Except for one, they say I'm a very angry person that completely denies everything about my gifts. So different levels of it, but yes, in all of them, I think I'm gifted.
Since accepting your gifts, has your view changed regarding organized religion?
Changed, shifted maybe is a better word. I don't know. Become a bit more fluid. So I put a lot of stock and I see a ton of value in organized religion. Most of them. The cult ones, I don't know. You're going to learn a lot, so I guess still some stock in that. But I think any type of faith is good. Believing in something bigger than yourself is good. It's when they get into the judgment and the punishment parts that I don't really get on board. I've actually kind of stopped taking my kids to church the last few months just because they started teaching them about hell, and I guess they're at that age where they want to teach them about that, but I just don't believe in that. I also don't believe in judging types of lifestyles so that certain races or sexes or sexual orientations are less than, better than, worse than, whatever, than what just they believe is the right way to be. But I think there's a ton of value to have a belief that there is something that's bigger than yourself. So I do see a lot of value in organized religion. I just wish they would leave out the more negative side of it. The financial side of it I find is quite corrupt, and the fear, the God fearing, I can't get on board with. But honestly, if anybody is going to church and getting comfort from that, 100% continue to do it, because there is a ton of value in that.
Do you know what your spirit guides look like, and do they have names?
So I haven't spent a ton of time on this because I usually talk to my dominant guide. My dominant guide, as far as I know, is an older woman named Gail. I know I do have a younger, a little bit flightier, funner guide named Jessica. I know I have a lot of guides right now just because of what I'm going through, and some are permanent and some are temporary. But mainly I talk to my main dominant guide, Gail. So yeah.
What do you think about trance channeling?
I've never done it, but I find it very interesting. I think it definitely takes a long time to get to that point. If people don't know what trance channeling is, because I think it sounds a little weird and might freak people out, it's so when I'm channeling and connecting to spirit, like right now, my dominant guide is standing in the corner of the room. I can see the energy, not necessarily the person. When when I channel or connect with loved ones, they stand in the room or they're on the other side and I can see them there. But I'm in my body. I'm the one talking. They're just putting the thoughts in my head. When you trance channel, yourself kind of steps out of your body or stands to the side, and the spirit of the person you're going to trance channel comes into your body and uses your body. So say you're trance channeling a woman with a British accent, you'll have a British accent. If you're trance channeling a child, you will have childlike qualities and features and move like a child, talk like a child. I've seen it done with guides and a higher consciousness. I haven't seen it done with just people. And I don't know that I would ever do that, just because it's a different level of energy. Guides, I think, will be more respectful of your physical body. I do find it very interesting, and it's something I'm learning about. I don't think I'm anywhere near the point I would want to do it.
What are auras, and can you see them?
So auras are kind of, everything's energy. Everybody is made of energy, and auras are the energy kind of that any given object puts off. I can see energy around people. I don't know that I give it specific colors, because I can just look at the person and I know how I'm going to feel about them. But everything to me has energy around it. I live in a world where, when you like squeeze your eyes tight really, really hard, and then you open them and everything's kind of like blotchy. That's how my whole life looks. Everything has energy to it. Every object has energy. Heather has a certain energy around her. My crystals do. I do. Everything. When I see spirit now, instead of just seeing them only on the other side, I see their energy. So it's person shaped, but it's just energy, because I don't want to see their physical body, because it creeps me out a little bit still. Sorry, guys. But it does. I don't know. It's just... because then I feel like they're just going to be everywhere. Like every car is going to have extra people. The mall is going to be twice as busy. That doesn't sound fun to me. But it's just the energy that any being, so not just people, anything, everything has energy. And I can see it around literally any object I look at.
All right. So during your readings, do you expect people to have a list of questions, or does it flow more naturally like a conversation?
I don't expect them to have questions. Everybody comes with questions, and sometimes they write them down. I just start talking, spirit starts talking, and they actually will have me write a question mark when you're thinking of a question, and I'll say, what is your question? But no, spirit knows exactly what you need before you come. Once in a while, if somebody's come to me for a reading, and we've connected with some loved ones, maybe touched on spirit guides, and they want a very specific spirit guide reading next within a short period of time, then I'm okay with them preparing some questions, and we'll do more of a Q&A. For the very first time last week, somebody came and spirit said, you know what, this reading is going to be them asking questions and you answering, because that's what they need today. And then it turns out she comes and she had like a book with a ton of questions, and we just went through her questions. But no, normally I just talk, spirit just talks, and they listen. I always leave like 10 minutes at the end to ask if they have any questions, but most of the time the answer is, I got nothing right now, and it'll all come to them after. But no, it just flows.
All right. So do the rest of us get to know who our spirit guides are?
I think it's quite hard. You really have to be gifted to be able to see that energy. They're like, you could just make it up, because we're kind of fine with being called anything. So if that helps you relate to them, think in your mind's eye what you think their energy, or they look like, or they feel like. And they say when you do that, oh, that's interesting. When you do that, usually they'll actually come through and kind of make you, like, impress upon you some of their physical features. But yeah, it is hard. It's even hard for me to know what people's spirit guides look like, because again, I usually only talk to their dominant guide. But I actually had one the other day. It was so funny. I hope that this person doesn't mind me talking about it, but his guide showed up and he was like wearing a toga, and he looked like a Greek philosopher kind of thing. And the guy's like, oh, that's so funny, because that's so me. Like, I'm one person on the outside, but I have like a philosopher inside of me, and it's coming from that guide. I had another woman that had a very kind of stubborn, strong personality, and her dominant guide looked like Xena the warrior princess. But then I'll have ones that look like a flower child. So I usually can tell you your dominant guide. I think it would take a lot of time and energy to go through each guide. Mm-hmm. And there's other things to focus on than what they look like.
Mm-hmm. So do we know our guides in this physical life?
Usually no. It takes a lot of work to become a guide. Once in a while they do say, like, say you have somebody in your life that was a child and died of cancer. Sometimes that child already is a guide and goes right into guiding their family, or somebody that was born severely physically disabled or really, really suffered a lot. But normally, no. Sometimes they're in your spirit family, and sometimes they're just guides that focus on specific areas. So maybe you are going to be somebody who suffers with mental illness your whole life. Somebody will come in that might have no idea you other than in this purpose, like you don't know each other outside of that on the other side, but they specifically focus on mental illness, and that will be one of your guides, because they'll know. But very rarely do you know them in this existence right now.
All right. How does a person become a spirit guide on the other side?
It's kind of like, so you go through all the levels of learning and learning and learning till you get to like the highest level of learning, and then you choose a job on the other side, and the job can be being a spirit guide. In saying that, they want me to clarify, like, yes, right now I'm a spirit guide. I'm obviously living physical lives, because how does that make sense? So, well, that's strange. Okay. So I'm assuming in most of my lives that I'm living right now, I have the same kind of level of energy, sort of. So I'm done living the lower level energy lives. And so that's why I can see my spirit guide self. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but whatever. But yeah, that's kind of the highest job you can have on the other side. They want me to clarify angels are not spirit guides. I said this in another video. Angels have not lived a physical life. They are the highest energy below the highest energy, which would be God or whoever you believe in.
Okay. Is there a highest perfected self? And when can we go home to where our spirits were born?
We are home, all of us. All of our souls are on the other side as well as here. Our higher self is on the other side, and all of our higher selves are perfect in and of themselves. Yes, they can change and shift and grow, but they're perfect right from the beginning.
Okay.
That's very hopeful. I like that.
Can you talk more about intuition and how to improve it?
I think this is a hard one for me personally, so Spirit can help me answer, but as far as me personally, I was born this way. Right? I was born this way. I fought it forever, even though it was always there. I turned it on and it was just there. So as I've accepted my gifts more, gotten more comfortable with them, my psychic abilities, my intuitive abilities have gotten stronger. But I think as a human, just trusting your gut and that it's going to point you in the right direction. Listen to yourself when you're feeling good or bad in any given... I think you're a good example of this, because sometimes you'll not do something or you will do something because you're feeling a certain way.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't know a lot of people like Heather that are like that. A lot of the times they'll force themselves a certain way because they feel that's what needs to be done. I think we could all stand to be a little more like her in that way, because she really does listen, right? Like, even if she has a certain commitment to something, if she gets a not good feeling about it, it's like, no, that's not good. Or if she really doesn't want to do something one night, but she's getting a feeling that she should, she'll do it. So I think everybody could take like a little bit of a lesson from that. Listen to your gut. Don't do things because they're a societal norm or because you feel pressured to do them. Don't change because somebody else is telling you to. Go with what you feel, and your intuition will grow. Your comfort within yourself will grow.
So listening to it more causes more growth?
Yes, it causes more growth, but sometimes, oh, that's so helpful. Now you're just going to negate everything I said. Sometimes you're not 100% meant to develop a high level of intuition because you're supposed to learn certain things in this life. So you might have a cap of where that's it. Like, that you're not going to go above that cap because you hadn't planned that in this life. And if you go above that cap, it's going to affect another life, maybe in a not so good way. So yes, it's kind of a two-sided coin sort of thing. I have like a hair and it's driving me nuts, so I gotta try and get it. Sorry.
How does a person know if they have the gift of connecting with the other side, and how can they fine-tune that gift?
Can I give your example?
Yes.
I think that would be inappropriate. Heather gave a really good example before, but the kind of answer to it is you just know. You either are connected or you're not. And everybody who is and who can see spirit, they know. They might not be comfortable with it, they might hate it, and they might fight it, but they know. I can't stop thinking about it.
I totally like my explanation better.
I'm gonna give it because I think it's funny too. Heather said it's like having an orgasm. If you haven't had one, you haven't had one. If you have, you know you have.
If you have to ask if you've had an orgasm, you haven't had an orgasm.
And that's kind of the same as seeing spirit. They are laughing. They think that's awesome. It's kind of the same as seeing spirit. You either know or you don't. Once in a while, there'll be like a freak thing where maybe you're around, say you're around somebody like me, like how my husband now, he heard that little girl, or a couple people I know have heard things that they may have not heard before knowing me. So that's, I don't want to like toot my own horn there and they're going toot toot. But that's more being around somebody with a higher energy, and maybe not something you can necessarily develop. You can control it, say yes or no to it, but maybe not grow it too much. But you just know.
All right, can you just a little more serious now?
Turn down.
More serious now. Turn down the dial. All right, so can you talk about the spiritual reasons behind weight gain or weight loss?
So honestly, the theme of today is 2 answers to every question. So sometimes there isn't a spiritual reason, it's a physical reason. Sometimes if you eat 4,000 to 8,000 calories a day, you're going to gain weight, and there's nothing you can do about it until you change your diet or you start to get some exercise. Sometimes you've got a thyroid problem, or you've got an imbalance in your body, a hormonal issue that's causing it. Sometimes it is a spiritual protection thing where you feel like in keeping that weight on, you're protecting your soul and your being and everything about you from that outside world. As an example, before I accepted my gifts, I always carried, like I looked like I was like 3 or 4 months pregnant. I carried weight in my midsection, always, always, always. And even like as a teenager when I was very fit, and now it's just gone. I don't feel a need for it. My body and my soul don't feel a need for it, but it was my way of protecting myself from others' energy. So that's again 2 sides to it. Rather than me being protected from the world or protecting myself, it was just keeping everybody's energy out. But definitely it can be you protecting yourself from something that can or will or you think might hurt you. So once you kind of deal with that and accept that you're going to be just fine, your body will start to kind of let that go. So there's a lot of reasons. I could probably do a whole video just on that topic.
Health
So if you're interested in the health and wellness part of it, comment below and we'll think of doing a video on that.
All right, can you elaborate on levels of energy or vibrations that each individual carries?
So everybody's different. No one person has exactly the same energy as another person. Everyone has different levels of energy, vibrates at a different frequency. Mine, like, okay, if this is going to be the human experience and you can go from here to here, I'm here. These people would be, that is not nice. They're joking, but they say these would be like the dummies of the world, the ones that just really seem like they don't get it at all, ever, and they're just floundering all of the time and have a lot of growth to do. But usually everybody's somewhere in this kind of mid-level zone. And you can definitely improve your energy, but it's not necessarily how you think you would improve your energy. It's not always like you go to classes and you learn and you practice meditation and you do all of these things and that's going to improve your energy. It's more you accept yourself and you love yourself and you realize that your existence is perfect in its imperfection, and that is going to raise your energy. I really like that. Thank you. That's a good one.
It is very good. I love the sound of it, working towards it.
Yes.
What contributes to these levels being different for each person?
It's all planned out when you're on the other side. Your level of energy on the other side is also going to be different. But on the other side, your level of energy can be the same as somebody, and you can choose to come into this earth, into this life, this physical world different, to learn something, to challenge yourself. It's like if I'm awful at math, to challenge myself, maybe I'd take an AP class. I would suffer. It would be horrible. But I would definitely learn something, even if it was just learning that I really sucked at math. So you might choose a different level of energy than what you are on the other side to learn lessons here.
Awesome. That was actually the last question. I didn't realize we've kind of finished everything. So
yeah, look at us go.
Yeah.
So what are the last kind of little things? So I think I'm going to make this one a contest again. So if you've made it all the way through, yay. So what you need to do is my sister tells me the order.
Like, comment, share.
Like, comment, and then share. If you share first and then comment and like yours, I can't see it. So you have to like, comment, and share this original post. Definitely keep the questions coming. We've had the exact right amount of questions for each video. We definitely aren't cutting any out unless I don't see them or I want to do like a separate, there's a couple questions I would like to do separate videos on that people have sent in, like the shorter videos that I do. But definitely like, comment, share, keep the questions coming, and just thank you all for all of your support. I just love it. I've really, really enjoyed doing these, and it's kind of brightened up this really gloomy day we're having here in Canada, in BC and Nanaimo. Beautiful. So yeah.
Bye.
And Heather's purple hair is awesome and matches my shirt.
Awesome and it matches. Bye.
Bye.